Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Hernandez, in the market for generic drugs, sellers compete primarily on price, creating what I believe is a race to the bottom. Research has shown that the lowest priced generic medications carry substantially greater shortage risks. And in the face of narrow margins and declining profitability, some manufacturers exit the market for certain drugs or shut down entirely. Do you agree that the race to the bottom pricing is a driver of prescription drug shortages?
I do. I think your summary was very complete. As I said, I think drug shortages have economic drivers behind them, where the race to the bottom is one of them. The race to the bottom has been key also at keeping costs down in Medicare and Medicaid and enabling affordability of generic drugs. But in some cases, it has threatened market sustainability, as particularly it is the case of generic injectables. So I very much agree with your statement.
Now, wholesale distributors purchase drugs from manufacturers, they store them, they sell drugs to pharmacies and clinicians. These ventures collectively account for an estimated 90% of all domestic generic drug purchases and leverage their market power to serve as price setters for generic products. Do you agree that increased concentration among drug purchasers, such as wholesale distributors, is a factor in driving race to the bottom pricing and making our supply chains more brittle?
So we have concentration in two entities in the purchasing side, wholesalers and group purchasing organizations. Both of them are highly consolidated, with only 3 or 4 accounting for the majority of the market. Now, on the wholesaler side, we have wholesalers buying generic drugs from manufacturers for basically like 1/3 of the country because of the consolidation. That means that only manufacturers that can produce large enough volume are competitive to be in what we call preferred list of wholesalers. So that also leads to concentration in the manufacturing side. Now, in the group purchasing organization side, these entities, which are also very consolidated, aggregate purchasing power across pharmacies, hospitals, health systems, etc. They contribute to the race to the bottom because they are negotiating these contracts on behalf of a large number of members. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to differentiate that there's the two types of entities.
Okay, I appreciate that. Dr. Wazinska, as we've heard, the generic drug market is one that largely encourages competition on price alone. This makes it challenging for generic manufacturers to invest in additional capacity, manufacturing upgrades, and quality control. As a result, manufacturers can experience quality issues that result in facilities going offline or drugs being discarded. Further, generic drug purchasers appear to have limited information about manufacturer and facility quality management. Are there sufficient financial incentives for generic drug purchasers to prioritize quality and reliability in their purchasing decisions? And if not, what financial incentives should we be considering?
No, they're definitely, the market does not reward reliability. I think it can be done on both sides. Definitely, it needs to be addressed through the buyers and change the way that buyers place on reliability. That's by far is the most important thing. There have been a number of proposals, and in some of my work, I've also proposed that we do also direct investments and provide forgivable loans to help build up the infrastructure and help manufacturers directly get up to par. But that won't change anything if there's still the race to the bottom. So until we actually address how the buyers buy and what they wait, we're not going to make much progress. But if we start rewarding reliability and manufacturers can maintain actually a higher price point because it's rewarded, that reliability, then there's going to be an incentive that will follow.
All right. Finally, for anyone on the panel, for many drugs, Medicare is the largest payer in the United States. Medicare Parts A and B typically reimburse providers for inexpensive generic drugs as part of a bundle of services and supplies rather than on an individual drug basis. By design, these bundle payments increase downward pressure on pricing, and these cost constraints impact contractual pricing arrangements across the supply chain. Are there payment and contracting reforms that can enhance predictability and stability with respect to generic drug pricing, payments, and volume commitments.
So if I could actually speak, earlier there was discussion around unbundling payments and to what extent they would help. I just would like to emphasize that unbundling will help, again, if the price becomes a signal of quality. And, just unbundling is not going to solve this problem. And the other witnesses spoke to that. And so the question is, can we get reliable measures around what is reliable? If you, I have more detail about it in my testimony, but I believe that if we wanted to wait, especially for generic sterile injectables, if we wanted to wait for FDA to develop this, it will take time, but I think there are other ways for us to do it through a pay-for-performance program to engage hospitals in trying to do a better job of doing this homework, actually through the GPOs, because the GPOs are actually in a very good position. They already look at supply chains and the reliability of supply chains. They're just not being rewarded for selecting the more reliable manufacturers on their contracts.